Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom. Quick video about some of the things coming up this weekend and some more changes on the 915 patch, which I hadn't previously talked about, stroke noticed, if I'm honest. So first up, exciting for those who like to buy their premiums, the limited edition IS3A is up for sale today. It will be available until when the sort of update to the game happens very early on Tuesday morning. So if you want to buy this tier 8 Russian premium heavy tank, now is probably a good time to do so. However, it's extremely expensive. The base tank with 50% crew and a garage slot is £34.70. That's a lot of money. That works out at just shy of 44 euros. And then if you want to go for the ultimate package, which is actually a better deal in many ways, you get the tank, you get the garage slot, you get 5,000 gold, you get the crew with 100% skill, and you get 30 personal reserves times 2 crew experience, I think it is, which comes up to a very, very substantial £47.36, or just shy of 60 euros. So it ain't cheap. What you get is basically an IS3, the standard tier 8 premium tank, as non-premium tank, sorry. It's almost identical in every way. It's slightly slower. The armor's pretty much the same. The turret's slightly different, more rounded and smaller. The gun is slightly weaker but fires an APCR round as standard, which means it flies quicker, which is useful for firing at distance or at having a quick snapshot at a target. So you're basically getting an IS3 premium. The downside of it, apart from the cost, is that it only carries 3 crew. It created a lot of fun and games when this tank first came out around Christmas time. There was a lot of talk about it being an autoloader, and it is an autoloader in the truest sense, but it is not a magazine autoloader like the French heavy tanks are. So you only fire one shot at a time. However, it loads quicker, slightly quicker than the standard IS3, so that's its advantage. But you do not get a loader, so it means as a crew trainer it's not much use, because you will only train 3 of your crew in this vehicle. The loader will suffer and he'll lag behind. So to that end, I've actually just got a standard crew that I only drive in my IS3A. They've done quite a lot of games now, and because I really like this tank, I really enjoy it, but I've done 105 games in it now. And I find it a good credit generator. Now, I've seen people moan about it. It's not as good as something like an IS6, and that's probably true. But you know, it's a fun tank. It's something you don't see very often. And the IS3 is such a brute anyway. This is as good as the IS3, but it's premium. So you know, if you really fancy it, get it, because they only bring it out every so often. They said it was a very rare tank, and it's only appeared once so far. I guess it's one of these things around special occasions it will be offered out, but it is expensive. However, if you are, and there's a link to a quick review I did of this tank some time ago when it first appeared over Christmas time, I think, yeah, my thoughts on it at the time. So the other thing available today and until Tuesday morning, I believe, is the Cromwell B, and this is a little beauty. Again, I'll provide a link to some of the videos I've done on this thing. It is, in all intents and purposes, identical to a standard British tier 6 premium, non-premium Cromwell. The differences are so minuscule you will not really notice it, and it is a better credit generator and crew trainer, so because obviously it's a premium vehicle. So this is again part of this new trend that Wargaming seems to have adopted, which is to have tanks that are premium tanks that are at least as good as the standard versions. They used to make sure they were worse. because they have preferential matchmaking and so forth. The modern premiums do not have preferential, and consequently they are pretty much identical, or at least as good as a standard vehicle. And that's certainly the case with the Cromwell B. It's so good that I actually got rid of my standard Cromwell because it just seemed pointless to keep two of them in the garage when this thing generates credits as well as it does. It's a good one for training your British medium crew. I've got my Comet crew in this, and they're doing very nicely going through this and the Comet each day. So yeah, really good tank. And this one is much more affordable, so you can only buy it as a package. But for the package you get 100% crew, which is very useful, a garage slot and 3,000 gold for £19.73, or just shy of €25. So I think that's not too bad at all. Of the two, if I could only choose one, I would go for the Cromwell B, because I think it's tier 6 games are great fun anyway. The Cromwell is a really fun tank, particularly in a platoon, and that price of just shy of 20 quid is not too bad, I don't think. Whereas £40 or so for a tier 8 is not very good at all. Excuse the dog barking. So next up, let's have a quick look at what's coming this weekend in terms of bonuses. Well, it appears to be Russian weekend. Most people would say it's Russian week every week in the in Wargaming's world, but such is the bias towards the Russian vehicles in this game. But anyway, whatever. This weekend until May 17th, 7 o'clock in the morning, you get ×2 crew experience for every battle, so that will help the bots out no end when they come out just to put their tanks in for freeze. You get 30% off standard Soviet tier 6 and tier 7 vehicles, and you get 50% off standard Soviet tier 5 vehicles. Also, if you're looking to put camo on any of your vehicles, or inscriptions or insignia, they're 50% off at the moment. So my kind of rule of thumb with camo is I put them on tanks that I'm planning to keep. I put the permanent camo on those, and any kind of tanks, higher tier tanks that really can benefit from it, that I'm going to be grinding for a long time. So emblems don't do a huge amount in the game yet, although there is some suggestion that well, not more than a suggestion, because Wargaming in the original Rubicon patch that was pulled some time ago were talking about implementing sort of bonuses to crew skills depending on which insignia or inscription you put on your vehicle. There was a hoo-ha and uproar about that, quite rightly, because some people have put them on their tanks, and so what happens if you've already paid for it and it doesn't give you a benefit that you want for your crew? And also it's very much pay to win, because a lot of people don't spend any money on this game, and yet you could effectively put various inscriptions on the vehicle that gave you the equivalent of an extra consumable slot, which is a big advantage. So they pulled that, but it still is there. If you look when you're looking in your tanks and you look at the inscriptions, there still is something underneath them saying plus 0% for a certain crew member when you look at various inscriptions. So at some point that will come, I'm sure, once they've worked out how to do it a bit fairer. So there you go. There's a mission this weekend. You need to cause at least 25,000. You need to earn at least 25,000 XP, finishing in the top 10. Doesn't matter whether you win or lose, but you must be driving a Soviet vehicle in any random game, and then you'll get 5 of those personal reserve ×2 experience for 2 hours. So yeah, it's one of those things. If you're playing over the weekend and you're inclined towards your Russian tanks anyway, it's a bonus, right? I don't know many people who go desperately trying to get it done just for that, but if you're playing anyway, it's good. Then you've got your premiums, the new premiums offers this week, which I've just talked about. So that's our weekend goodies from Wargaming. Thank you very much. So another quick look at some of the other things I've noticed subsequently. So also on the website you will find a video about a new test server that they're planning to bring in. So it's like a sandbox. vehicle balancing, which again I think is good. I like the fact that Wargaming spend a lot of time testing their vehicles, and you know, okay, they get it wrong. I know there are vehicles out there that are completely OP, and there's some that are bloody awful and need serious improvement, but on the whole they're pretty good at doing it, and they do review the stats a lot. They're good at checking stats, so hopefully this new sandbox will help. They're looking at, you know, other future changes, suggestions around things. It's possible the new suggested changes to artillery might be reviewed in this. It looks like it's something you can apply to be a tester in. It does say here, we'll update you on this topic, as well as criteria for applying as soon as more details of the test are initiated or finalized. Sorry. So from what they say in the video, you don't have to be a super player, you just have to be a reasonably good player who plays regularly to be considered for this. So we'll see. I may well apply myself. I'll see if I've got the time and how much the workload is, and whether I get lucky anyway, but that'd be useful to see some of the stuff that's coming or things they're thinking about, and maybe I can bring some of that news to the channel. Other things coming, so these were bits of 915 which I didn't include in my two other videos about 915, mainly because I missed them entirely, which is pretty stupid. So 915 is still going through test server at the moment. There's been 3 patches to that test server since it went up, so it can't be long before they bring that down. I have to say I've had real trouble getting back on. I got on one of the earlier ones, but the second time I tried, it wouldn't let me on at all, and at the moment, when I tried yesterday, it just went in sort of a perpetual loop. So it does happen, unfortunately, with the test server from time to time. Getting on can be a challenge, but anyway, enough of that. Let's have a quick look at some of the things I didn't discuss last time. Changes to the personal missions. So this will delight a lot of people out there if you're still struggling to do the missions. Tank Destroyer 6, they shall not pass. Lots of good changes here. So effectively most of those are around the requirement that the damage that you had to do with a TD had to be on enemy tanks that were over a certain distance and moving. They seem to remove the moving criteria from all of the various tanks, which is good. Personally, I never found it a big issue, but you know, I play TDs a lot, so you get used to hitting enemy vehicles as they're moving. But I know for people who don't play TDs a lot, they found that really hard to do, particularly when you need to do 2,000 damage or 3,000 damage at a distance of 250 on a moving target, and secondary being to destroy those targets. That was pretty hard. So that's being improved in the next patch, which is good. Heavy Tank 7, we've got it covered. This is the base capture one. So it doesn't affect the lower tier, so the Stug and the T-28 concept missions remain the same as far as I can see. You still have to be involved in a capture or recapture of a base and cause various amounts of damage in doing so. But at the T-55A and the Object 260, there used to be a requirement, or currently is a requirement, that you win the game, and you, for the T-55A, you do at least you earn at least 30 base capture or base recovery points, and for the Object 260 it has to be 50 base points. That requirement has been removed in the new patch, so that's good, because at higher tier games you don't see base captures as often as you do at lower tier games, unless it's the assault game, and a lot of the better players will actually object to you because you get less XP if you're leaving enemy tanks around. So they don't, let's put it politely, they don't like you to base capture. So I have seen enemy tanks actually shoot each other when they're in, or shoot the tank that's on the base to reset the cap to allow the game to continue. So that must be pretty infuriating if you're just about to get your 50 base point captures and your team kill you or shoot you and damage you. So they've removed that requirement, so that's good. LT10, Light Tank 10, maximum results. So personally I didn't find, well, at the lower levels this is not too difficult a mission, I don't think. If you're reasonably good in a light tank, you need to finish in the top top player on your team by experience earned, and for the 28 concept you had to survive the battle. Now that was tough, but they've changed that to you only have to be the top 3 players for the Stug, and you don't have to survive for the concept. So that's good, because it's quite difficult to survive that game. In fact, for all the remaining for the concept, the T55A and the Object 260, they've taken out the requirement to survive the game, which is good. So you still have to finish top player on your team, but you don't have to sorry, strike that. I'm just reading that again properly. So the T28 concept and the T55A, you have to still finish as a top player, but you don't have to survive. For the Object 260, you have to survive, but the extra really tough criteria, which was to finish the battle without taking any damage, has been removed. I can't imagine how tough that would be. So in a light tank, you finish top, so probably you're going to be in a tier 8 light tank, which means it's a tier 10 game. So finishing top player, that's quite tough. Surviving the game, yeah, that's pretty tough. Finishing without any damage, so even if a friendly tank bumped you at the beginning and you got a scratch of health knocked off you, that would stop you winning the Object 260 mission. So they've removed that damage, so I think that's good. LT7, for me, this is a godsend, because this is the one I am completely stuck on and have been for months. This is where you have to destroy enemy self-propelled guns in a medium tank. Tier 1, you had to destroy at least one self-propelled gun, which wasn't too bad. For the T28, it was 2. That was a little bit more challenging, and neither of those have changed. For the T55A, which is where I am at the moment, you had to destroy at least 3 enemy self-propelled guns. Oh my god, how many games do I get into and I'm in an appropriate medium and there's only 1 or 2 artillery? Matchmaking knows, I swear it does, and when you're on a mission like that, it says, oh, he's got the mission right. We'll make sure there's only 2 self-propelled guns just to make him happy. And then when you do get the opportunity, you can't get anywhere near them to kill the 3. So yeah, I've had 1 chance. Realistically, I think in all the games I've played in a tier 6 or above medium tank, and I play quite a bit, I've only realistically had 1 chance where I could have gone for it, and I think you may have seen the video, if you watched any of my videos, where I was a Cromwell drive. I was in my Cromwell Berlin on Himmelsdorf, and I should and could have gone for the 3 enemy self-propelled guns. Whether I would have killed them all, who knows? But I chose to secure the win for the team primarily, and by the time I'd done that, one of them was dead, and I sort of beat myself up a bit afterwards, but I did the right thing for the team. So now I'm only going to have to destroy at least 1 self-propelled gun after spotting it myself. That's actually pretty easy. I don't have a problem with that one. Object 260, destroy at least 2 enemy self-propels without any help from your friends. That's the current mission. Now you can destroy at least 3 self-propelled guns. So they've swapped that out basically. At the higher tier, I don't know. I haven't got to the object. That still looks bloody hard, frankly. Medium tank 12, I know this is one that gets a lot of people hot under the collar, so to speak. It's the incinerator one. So at Stug level you have to set an enemy vehicle on fire, relatively easy, or it's just luck really. You can aim for the engine, you can aim for the fuel tanks to help your chances, but ultimately it's going to be lucky whether you do it or not. That doesn't change. T28 concept, it had to be 1 tier higher than you that you set on fire. That 1 tier higher is gone on the new patch, but you do have to do 1 fire and at least 2,000 damage to enemy vehicles in the game, so I think that's a bit easier. T55A, which actually I've done this one, which was to set 2 enemy vehicles on fire or 1 vehicle twice. Now you just have to do it to 1 vehicle of the same or higher tier, so that's a lot easier. Object 260, it was 2 enemy vehicles you had to set on fire that were 1 tier higher than you, or 1 enemy vehicle you set on fire twice. Now that has changed to being the same tier, but you had to do 3,000 extra damage. Again, I think that's much easier to accomplish. Self-propelled 10, again one that I'm struggling with. Bane of Artillery. So this was to destroy, it's basically one to use artillery to destroy other artillery. So at the base level there's a change to the secondary condition. So at the moment you had to destroy one self-propelled gun and do 1,000 damage. Now you still have to kill one, but you also have to, for the secondary, you have to get a second vehicle. So I think that's actually harder myself, but those will be quite low tier. Probably those most people using tier 5's artillery will struggle to do 1,000 damage in them. The T-28 concept, you currently have to destroy 2 enemy self-propelled guns, and for the second to do 2,000 damage. The 2 kills still remains the same, but now it's 3 destructions, which again I think is quite hard. T-55A, which is where I am, destroy an enemy self-propelled gun that hasn't been spotted, and cause at least 3,000 damage. This has been a flipping nightmare, and I think it's a good move they've taken this out, because I know when I've actively gone to try and do this mission, you get fixated trying to get the enemy tank, so you have to you have to spend a lot of time trying to spot where the enemy vehicle is or where it's likely to be. And in some maps it's fairly obvious the sort of areas where artillery sit, but even so you're sitting there in sky down views trying to spot tracer fire, and I know of at least one game where I could have influenced the match better, but I spent the whole time trying to spot an enemy artillery and fire on it to do this mission, and I completely ignored what my team were doing when they probably could have used some support from me. And you know, that's not the way it should work. These missions should, when they first came in, people were throwing games trying to accomplish various missions. That's not the best, that's not good for the game. So I think it's good that they've amended this one. So now I'm going to only have to destroy 1 enemy self-propelled gun and cause at least 2,000 damage to enemy vehicles. Very doable. Secondary is pretty tough. It's 4 kills, one of which is obviously artillery, so you'd need 3 other vehicles. Pretty tough. But the secondary conditions, remember, for the missions you don't have to accomplish until you get to mission 15. The final mission, you really want to do them with secondary condition if you possibly can, because that gets you an extra token, which is good, because it means you don't, say I don't know, some people don't play artillery, for instance. If you can get the extra tokens on the other 4 classes, then it replaces the one that you would have got for the artillery, and therefore you get the mission done. So the extra secondary ones are worth doing if you can, but they're not absolutely essential to complete the missions. I've often cases gone back and redone them to get the secondaries when I'm waiting to finish the last mission, for instance. Whoops. The Object 260 artillery change, used to have to kill 2 enemy that hadn't been spotted. Wow, that must have been hard. Now you still have to kill the 2, but the requirement of not being spotted has gone, but in return you have to do 4,000 damage. Secondary skill is now, secondary condition is now 5 enemy kills. That's hard, very hard. But you know, it's a tier 10 premium that you're getting if you do the Object 260, so they should be hard, right? Other things coming up in 9.15, we talked about this when I did the video, so the changes in the filtering, which I think is great. So these are actually, all these last few things are all things that were available through various mods and have now been brought into the standard game, which I applaud Wargaming for. I think it's good that there's no longer a requirement to have a mod, but these will be standard features. So you will get the improved carousel filtering and what have you of the tanks. I particularly like the fact that you could set up which ones you haven't done your first victory of the day in, for instance. I think that's great. The zoom feature is now freely available, the times 15 and times 16 and times 25 zoom. So that means when you are in zoom mode with your gun, you will be able to pick out the weak spots in the enemy vehicles much clearer as a standard feature. So you just need to go into your settings and enable that to have that facility, which previously you could only get via mods. Ping in the server, a ping on the server in your hangar, so very useful, particularly if you're in an area where your Wi-Fi isn't particularly reliable or what have you. You can see what the server ping is like, what the lag's like. and what the performance is doing, and choose the appropriate server. Again, something that most people who ran mods are well used to having. Now it's going to be standard, which is good, and I like the fact they're making things standard. You don't have to go and don't have to go and upload a mod and make sure it's up to date. It's part of the game now. Other changes coming, which I think again are things that most people have used to if they've used most mods, but really good. It's part of the standard game. The base capture siren, currently with the standard package, you just get the siren going off, and you don't really know how long that's going to be, or even how many enemy tanks are in the cap. There are mods that show you this, and the standard game will do the same now. So you will have a timer, and it will also tell you how many tanks are in the cap. So that makes life a lot easier. The other one, which I never saw as a huge issue, but maybe some people did, which was the game clock. So the fact you only have a certain amount of time to complete the game, particularly I guess when you're in assault games, there is now going to be a warning when the game has only 2 minutes left to run and 20 seconds left to run. So that's good, I guess, for people who aren't paying attention. And I can't believe people don't pay attention in this game. They're always watching their mini maps and always well aware of what the time is like. But anyway, just in case they're not, that will help considerably. And there's also changes to the proving ground. I've never used the proving ground, so I'm not going to comment on that. But yeah, it is what it is. So there you go. That's what's coming this weekend. Cromwell B, IS3A, test server updates, which is great. I'm guessing the test server won't be long before it goes down, and then we get the patch put in place, but we'll see. Maybe towards the end of May. There's obviously been a lot of changes made to this one, so we'll see when it comes up. I haven't been able to see anything telling people when the patch will come in. Yeah, it's all good, looks good. So anyway, this has been GamerDom. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please consider clicking like and maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Have a good weekend, enjoy your games, don't take them too seriously, just have fun, try and relax. Here in the UK it's going to be a nice sunny day apparently, so I'll have my shorts on when I speak to you next. That's a frightening thought. GamerDom out, enjoy your weekend, have good games, don't take them too seriously. See you again.